Hey everybody, how's it going out there? Welcome to Thinking by Doing, where I talk about all the stuff that I did and how I liked it. Well, happy Halloween. It is the spooky holiday out there, and I did get my voting sticker for the spooky election. I voted today, and despite everybody dressed up as other people today, I feel the most myself that I've ever felt. So that's a cool feeling. I thought we might start off I thought I would demonstrate the name of the podcast by telling you how the name came about, as that will be a preview of how this podcast is going to go. Yeah, so the name of the podcast is Thinking by Doing, and I guess I can tell you some of the stuff that was floating around in my head as I was coming up with the name. I was watching an Edward Lee documentary on YouTube, and in it he talks about his cooking process, how he develops his palate. He tries to take things too far, he says. Like in the example, he's like burning some, I think like peaches or strawberries to just experiment with the flavor. And he says you take it too far, and that's where you know the boundary between what you like and what you don't like. And then you understand your palate and you know your palate. And I think that's a beautiful metaphor. Not a metaphor. I mean, that's how to do anything. That's how to learn. So that was floating around in my head. And kind of building off of that, I was thinking of a little kid asking their parent, "Why do we drive on the road?" And the parent shows the kid, well, it's not just because I say so or because the law says so. Like, see, if I like put some of the wheels off the road, you see how bumpy and unsuitable it is, and we come back on the road, it's much smoother. And so discovering suitability to the kid, instead of just saying because I said so, perhaps with some discipline of some kind. So that was going around in my head. And of course, the most recent song I published, the text was from a poem by Antonio Machado. And in it, he talks about making the road as you walk. Kind of the same idea of tasting by cooking, making music by ear, stuff like that. So I guess when I was trying to think of a name for the podcast, I started with a line from the poem, "Se hace al andar." And like, to make what though? That phrase doesn't quite encapsulate it. And I would need to have like a longer title, I guess, to explain it. And I didn't want that. Also, it's in Spanish, which is fine. Just, I thought maybe having it in English would be better, since I speak English a lot better than I speak Spanish and all that. So after tasting that title, Se hace al andar, those were the two things that I thought could improve on it. And so I was thinking of like other ways to say it, like going back to tasting by cooking, or a trailblazer, you make the trail by walking. Kind of thinking by doing kind of sprang up pretty close soon after that. There wasn't too many stops along the way. But that was still kind of early in the night. I wasn't asleep yet, and so I kept thinking about it. I tried to take it further. Like maybe creating by doing, living by making, making a living by making a life, creating a living, creating by learning, learning by doing, balancing by doing. That one kind of felt good. Finding peace by doing, living for fun, making for fun, creating for fun. Like all these they just weren't better. They were more frilly, more froofy than thinking by doing is very, very raw, like very primitive words, I guess. I also noticed that thinking by doing, the TLA, the 3-letter acronym for it, would be TBD. And I both liked that and didn't like it. But I didn't throw it out right away. It was one of the reasons I kept looking for another title. But yeah, I guess after realizing kind of the meaning yet again of thinking by doing is like to be determined is kind of perfect, kind of a perfect TLA for the podcast as a secondary hidden alternate meaning. So yeah, that's my attempt to remember the road I walked to get to the title of this podcast. Thank you. I have apps that I make. I have songs that I write. I have all these other things that I do. I've been drawing, singing, playing guitar, and I want to talk about all these things as a kind of a means of expressing creativity, discovering creativity. And I think creativity and spirituality are the same. And I also think creativity and love are the same. So perhaps that gives some insight on why this is so important to me and why I want to explore in all these different directions. Some of you will remember that this is not my first podcast. Seasons 4 and 5 were Living the Creative Act was the name of the podcast. And that was fun. I was looking back at the website code for it and looking at all the work that I did, hosting the podcast myself, making a new cover photo every episode, uploading all of that, recording backgrounds, going down to the river, recording sunsets and all that to put as backgrounds for the podcast. Yeah, I put a lot of work into that. I'm not sure how to call it great or not, but I did learn a lot. One thing that I want to change is not recording it live. I recorded it live and that was fine, but I think that I can give a better experience in an edited format. So TikTok and YouTube, here we come. Here we go. Here we go.